Aeronautics engineering history and viability around time. Aeronautics is the science that studies aircraft and everything that navigates through the air. It started with the attempts of flying without knowing nothing about aeronautics science. Hundreds of years ago, climbing to the top of high towers and jumping off the top, with the supposed flying machine, ending with crippling or deadly results. After those mistakes, civilizations started trying to get an understanding of flying based on the many creatures that can fly. From that point on, flying and its understanding evolved, preparing all the knowledge to invent the first flying machine. As well as is known, the first flying machine were the hot air balloons, but it was quickly used as another meant to do the same thing of many years before, ending with the same results, or worse. After all those efforts, a man that went by the name of George Cayley in 1846 forged the basis of the airplane, starting from the tail assembly to the fuselage, also understanding the mechanics behind beer flight. From there on, the race to create a steam-powered plane started to going from France to London and even to Germany. But the first ever heavier-than-air flight was done by German engineer Gustav Wolkoff with the Whitehead Model 23, but the distances, speed, and height of the flight were not recorded. Later of these events, the Wright brothers made their model based on a methodological design, trying to get rid of the problems at hand, being power and control of the plane, being one of the most helpful to the aeronautic basics and making the most successful plane at the time, the Wright Flyer. The era marks the start of flight and the science behind flying with heavier-than-air planes and machines. The goal is to get your airplane recognized by an important aeronautics association in Europe, was on many pioneers in the old world ignored by the Wright brothers, finds and research trying to make a dual plane that couldn't fly. The only one of these kind of designs that worked was reported to be less successful than the Wright's attempt. Later, in 1917, Santos Dumont made a variant of which, instead of moving the whole wing of the plane like the Wright brothers, you just needed to move an aileron, a mechanism that moved an aileron of the wing, allowing to make movement easier. This was showcased with his plane, the Demoiselle, in number 19, in a showcase flight in France, being the first game to gain the French Aeronautic Association approval. From there on, flying and flying machines evolved from being used caskets to the first iron full-covered plane made in Romania. Almost as soon as they were invented, airplanes were used for military purposes. The first country to use airplanes as a war mechanism was Italy, in the Italian-Turkish war against Libya. After that, the usage of airplanes in major conflicts was disregarded until the First World War, where both the Allies and the Central Powers had strong air forces and air units. In this period, the idea of combat with airplane schemes of combat and were airplane schemes of combat in between the world wars. The advance in the aircraft technology is based on the war designs of airplanes and upgrading the war machines, expanding to the whole world by the 20s. From there on, airplanes were registered to break astonishing records and evolve more and more. The World War II was the era of gold for aviation, becoming a way of attack and defense. In this period of aviation was used mainly for war, but the aircraft also had many refill use for it, to the point that air combat was full of many different planes. In this era, also the time of the Zeppelin was the time to the Zeppelin to shine in Germany, as a capability to transport more people and weaponry than planes, and faster than any other air vehicle. But this success quickly fell after many accidents with this machine. After these events, the military air machines evolved to be able to combat at sonic speeds, perfect camouflage, and almost undetectable aircrafts. The commercial field. After the war zone in between, then the commercial field of aeronautics started to grow. After the first idea to be displaced of this was between wars, when airplanes were used to deliver mail packages. Walk forward after the events of World War II, and many of the airplanes were left behind while the military industry started to develop new ones. Instead of wasting them and let the planes to rot, many airlines took them and started to use the planes as a way to transport people, with them changing the perspective of planes only for war aspects and object transportation to also transport people. This new method of transportation shortly became popular and grew in many different levels, with England and USA working on methods of improving the big airplanes from bombers to passenger surrounding planes. Starting from Boeing and Boeing, both companies created awesome planes, but only one could live on. Boeing with its planes for 400 plus passengers and Boeing with its supersonic jet. But due to many errors on their plane designs, they fell off the sky. Boeing failed to recognize many of their mistakes, and that's why the American movement took over the airplane industry for a long time. This was my presentation for aeronautics history, engineering, and viability. Right now, honestly, I think that the better way of putting this is that in itself, aeronautic engineering and aeronautics in general are most profitable right now than it was before. We have evolved a lot from the past and we have changed a lot of things too. That was all. Thank you very much for listening.